Hello everyone, this is Alex from alexlancer.com, and in this REST API tutorial we will start creating our own OAuth 2.0 Authorization Server using CodeIgniter 4. We will be using open source library created by Brent Shaffer, and just to make things clear, we will not cover all the grant types required for authorizing third-party resources. Instead, we will focus on our private application that will exchange user credentials for an access token. After that, we will see how to protect our controllers using CodeIgniter 4 filters. And just to show you what I mean, here's a quick overview where I will be using a Postman for all of our tests. So this is our user login endpoint, and I already filled some credentials here that are required, and they are correct. So for example, if I click send, you will see that I'm getting an access token, an expiration time, token type, scope, and refresh token. And for instance, if I mistype a username, you'll see that I'm getting an error. So let's go back and fix this. Let's create a new token. I will copy it and I will use it in my protected resource for blog posts. So let's say you have a blog that requires user to authorize first. So let's paste our new access token, and as you can see, I'm getting all the posts as a response. If I use a wrong token, you will get an error message. So with that said, let's get started and see how we can implement this. I have navigated to my exam folder, and from here I want to open PowerShell to start with the installation process. Let's go to CodeIgniter's Composer installation page to copy this line back to PowerShell or terminal, whatever you use. Let's paste it and let's name this. No, let's name it REST API, because we will cover more than just authorization here. So let's call it REST API. Waiting for a few seconds to download the project. And while we are waiting for this, let's go also to this page. I will leave the link in the description. This is Brent Shaffer's PHP OAuth 2.0 server library. So you can visit his GitHub account also. And I will continue from here. So what I need is, let's go to overview, and let's copy also this line of code. Copy. Let's check if the CodeIgniter installation has been completed. Okay, it looks so. Let's change our folder to go inside of our project, and once we are inside, paste the second composer line in your PowerShell, and let's install it also. Okay, now we can open our project in Atom or Visual Studio Code, whatever you use. Okay, here we go. So let me align this. As always, let's first of all, let's set up our XAMPP folder, our XAMPP settings, so that localhost points inside our public folder. Scroll down, and let me just check the exact path. So we are inside YouTube, CI4, YouTube REST API. Okay. So let's go here, YouTube REST API /public, and copy this line, copy here, and paste it here. Be careful, because your path could be different. For instance, my XAMPP installation is on H driver and not C. So be aware of that. Save the file and start your XAMPP, or restart if you had it running before you modify the file. Let's start this, let's start that. Okay. So the next thing we have to do is we have to copy MySQL schema from Brent Shaffer's page. That's why let's go back again and let's go to Cookbook, step-by-step walkthrough, and just grab all of this MySQL code here. Okay. So let's go to localhost phpMyAdmin. Let's create a new database. Let's call it REST API, create, and then let's go to the SQL and paste all the code inside here. Go. Our tables are ready. Now let's go to OAuth clients table and let's create our client. So the client, it is not a user if you are not aware of OAuth logic or how it works. So don't be misled by the names. OAuth client, you can say that the app that will be using your REST API server is the client. Therefore, we will have only one client for our scenario. And let's go and create it manually. So the client ID, normally you would use some long string, like maybe some encryption type also, like an MD5 string or just a randomly generated one. But I think in our case, it is not that important. So just for our tutorial, let's use test client. And for the secret, let's use test secret. So we don't need redirect URI. The grant types, we will use password. Type password. in our scope, let's give it up, and user ID also not needed in our case. And the next thing, let's go to our OAuth users. So this is our users table. By default, the library provides us with the OAuth users table where we will store all of our users. We can change that by creating our own storage, but we will cover that in a later video. For now, let's just use OAuth users. So let's insert one. Let's create a username Alex Lancer. Give it a password and let's encrypt it with SHA-1. Let's create a password. Alex Lancer test.com. Let's say we have a verified email and scope also up. So now we have our user, we have our client, and it is time to jump, or let's actually create also our blog post so we don't go back to the phpMyAdmin, and let's give it a name of a blog ID, blog title, blog description, and let's say blog created at. Actually, it should be a post ID, post title, post description, and post created at. So here we go with the type of date time, and default is current time. Post description, let's make it text. Post title, let's make it a varchar 255, and post ID an auto increment. Save that. Let's insert few posts. For that I will be using lorem ipsum. So let's go here, let's grab this for the title, paste here, grab the text, post here. Let's go for the second one. Let's create two more. Yeah, this is the boring part, but we need it to show and to see the results. And the last one, let's say this one here. Okay, go. So we have our 4 blog posts. Now it is time to go to our project. So go to your env file, duplicate it, and name it .env. Remove, uncomment the environment, set it to development. Remove app base URL, set it to HTTP, or maybe if you are using Spark, it should be localhost 8080. If you are using XAMPP like me, then it should be HTTP ://localhost/. let's move down to our database. Let's uncomment all of this. So what was the name of our database? It was REST API. REST API, username root, password, we don't have password. So here I would like to add one more line that we will take again from the cookbook of our library, the DSN. So take this line and go back to our project. So let's name this variable DSN, single quotes. Just change the DB name to our REST API DB name, host localhost. Yeah, this is good. Save, and let's go now to our app folder, and let's go straight to the libraries. So we'll create our server by using CodeIgniter for custom library. And how we do that? Let's create a new file, name it OAuth.php. Okay, sorry, OAuth.php. Let's start by opening PHP tags, namespace, app, libraries, let's use the PDO storage from OAuth 2 library that we have installed in our project. So it goes like OAuth 2 storage PDO. And now let's create our class OAuth. Let's create a var here that will be our server. Let's create a construct function where we will initialize when we will run our init function that we will create here below. So public function init function init. So here what we need, we have to create our three main variables. The one is DSN, and we will grab them from our .env file by using get-env database default DSN. Let's copy that and let's just change this to username. Username, and this, let's make it password. So now let's initialize our storage. Let's create a variable storage and say new PDO, and inside here we have to pass an array with DSN value, our username, and our password. Then let's say, let's call again our server. So we say this server equals new OAuth 2 server. And let's pass the storage inside. So, and the last thing, this server add grant type, and also let's create here a new instance of OAuth 2 grant type user credentials, and let's pass the storage here too. So that's all that we need for our OAuth library for now. After that, let's go and create a user controller. So this controller will be used to log in and actually to create a request to our OAuth server for an access token. Let's go to our controllers. Let's duplicate our home controller, user.php, rename it, rename the class also to user. So what we need here, let's use our app libraries, OAuth. So this is the name of our server file. Let's also use OAuth 2 request, and let's use CodeIgniter API response straight. Inside here, let's say use response trait, and we don't need this index function. Let's remove this comment also, and we will create one function here only, public function login. So here we will create a new instance of our server. So OAuth new OAuth, we will create a new instance of the request using an object using a class from the library that we have downloaded. So this will be new request. Now let's create a response. So the response will be our OAuth object server handle token request, and we pass here the request variable that we have created, create from globals. So all these functions and methods that you might, I guess you might don't know them, I've taken them from the documentation from the OAuth 2.0 libraries page. So you can find it all there inside the cookbook or other examples that this page provides. So let's create the code. This will be the the response code that we will get from our request, and we do that by getting status code. And we will need one more variable here that will be the body. So this is the actual response that we need. And just change the status code to get response body. And let's return this respond. So this respond comes from this response trait. This is CodeIgniter for feature used for API responses, and you will see how we can use it in its full potential in the later videos when we will be handling the resources, let's say our blog, or maybe we will create something else. So here the only thing that must be done, so we have to decode, JSON decode the body that we got from our library, because otherwise the CodeIgniter respond handles it just as a string. So when I JSON decode it, it becomes an array, and then the respond makes it, converts it again to the JSON format in our response. I hope that makes sense. So, and the code is the HTTP status code that we will get. So I think our user login should be fine, and we can go and test it in the Postman. So let's go here, and so let's go. Let me create a new request. So HTTP localhost user login. First of all, it should be a post request. Then in our authorization headers, we will have to pass basic authorization using username and password from our client's table. So what did we put there? OAuth client. So we have test client and test secret. Test client, test secret. If we send it now, yeah, we will get a bunch of errors, although they are not related to the authorization, but we will see what they are. So next we have to go to our body, select xwww form URL encoded format, and let's create, we have to pass three variables here. One is grant type, which is password. It is, in our case, it is always will be password. And now username. So our username is, I think is Alex Lancer, and our password is password. Okay, let me try to send this. Okay, we are getting 500 internal server error. So the library OAuth not found. Okay. Let's see why our CodeIgniter cannot find the library. Let's go to here. Yeah, because we named it completely different. So let's change it for simplicity. Class OAuth. Yeah, and this is the same name as the file name should be. So this is good. Save it. Let's try again the Postman request. Call to undefined method handle token request. So I think I mistyped here handle token request. Let's change it also. Handle token request. Create from globals, get status code. Okay, so here you go. We got our access token. And here, if you see, let's say wrong password, invalid username and password combination. So it looks fine. Next thing we have to do is to create our protected blog resource. And to do that, let's go back to our project. Let's create one more controller, name it blog. Let's also create a model for the blog. It will be a really simple model. So let's name it blog model.php. Let's create it really fast. So PHP namespace app models, use CodeIgniter model class blog model extends model. Inside here, let's pass the required parameters that are protected. So the table name is blog. Also protected primary key is post ID. And protected allowed fields are our post title and our post description. I think that's what we name it, right? Let me double check. Blog, our post description, yeah, correct. That's all. We don't need, for now at least, we don't need nothing else here. Let's go back to our blog controller. So change the class name to blog. And also let's change it a little bit. So use app. Actually, no, we don't need app here. Let's use here CodeIgniter RESTful resource controller. Yeah. Resource controller, correct. Instead of the base controller, let's extend it. Let's extend our block controller with resource controller. Let me just paste it here. It's too long to write. So protected model name. So in the when you extend the resource controller in CodeIgniter 4, you can specify the model that this controller will be using by specifying it here inside app models, and let's say it's our blog model that we created. So another parameter that we can specify is the format, and our format will be JSON. The other option is XML. Now let's see, public function index, and let's just simply return all of our blog posts. So return this respond, and inside of here, okay, let's keep all the things a bit clear here. So let's create a post variable where we will get this model find all, and let's pass it inside the response. Okay, so now, of course, if we will go to our blog, http localhost/blog, and send a request, we are getting all of our blog posts without any control of either we are authorized to view this or not. So therefore the next thing I want to do is to create a filter that will check if our user is authorized or not, based on the access token that we will provide. Let's go to the CodeIgniter page to grab the filters example controller filters. I think it's here. Yeah. So just get this, and let's go back to our project, filters. Let's create new filter and call it OAuth filter.php. Paste this, rename the class name filter.php. Now below here, let's add few more things. Let's use app. Actually, let's copy them from, I think, from our, nope. Yeah, not everything is here that we need. Anyway, yeah, let's type it on our own to avoid mistakes. So app libraries. So this is our server that we created inside the libraries. Also, let's use OAuth 2 request and OAuth 2 response. Now, auth filter implements filter interface, that's correct. And we need to execute it before the request reaches our controller, our protected resource. So therefore we use it before. I mean inside the before function and not the after function. So let's create again an instance of our server. OAuth. Let's create request equals request create from globals response equals new response Now we can start checking if the user has provided a valid access token. So to do it, it is really easy. We type OAuth, our server variable, and we verify resource request, and we pass inside our request. Again, this is all from the Brent Shaffer's page with the documentation. So we say that if the resource is not verified, if the request is not verified, then we want to get the response and send it back to the user. So get response and use the send function that is also from this library. And then of course we have to set the die function, because otherwise the request will continue and will go to proceed to our resource. Now we have to specify the OAuth filter where we want to use it, because as of now, yeah, we created it, but still we don't specify when to use this filter. To do that, we go to the config. Let's go to the filters.php, and I would like to use it here, because here I can specify valid masks. So for instance, let me, no, not here. First of all, let's create an alias for that, for our filter. So let's say OAuth filter, and let's say the path is up, filters, OAuth filter, and class OAuth filter. Yeah, so now by using this alias here, we can say that this filter must run before any of the requests that contain block. So what you can see here in the example, if we would follow the example, let's say like this would not include our first request, which is block without slash. So if we will have multiple endpoints under our block controller, then I would suggest you to create both rules. So end for block as it is, and the wild mask that will include block/new, block/create, and you get the point, I hope. So let's save this and let's go again back to Postman and test what's happening here. Yeah, so now as you can see, the status code is 401, which means unauthorized. But if we create a bearer token and we paste there the access token from our login request, now as you can see, we get the response. Let's say we type a wrong token, and again the token is invalid. Let's check also if the token is expired. So as you've seen, it says that it is valid for 1 hour. And Let's go to our phpMyAdmin. Let's go inside OAuth access tokens. So which one is the 6A6? So it is this one. It expires 15/29, but let's say that we will set it 1 hour earlier. And let's test what will happen now. So as you can see, this is our token. And we get the message that the token provided has expired. So of course, you can change the expiration time. By default, it is set to 1 hour only. But you can change it inside the library and set it to how long you want. So guys, that's it for our authorization part. I hope you enjoyed it. And in the next video, we will create a protected resource. We will continue developing our blog resource where we will see how we can add new posts, edit the post, and get a post by ID. So thank you all very much. See you in the next video.